Research students often face the challenge of understanding and choosing which philosophy to base their studies. This is often discussed in Chapter 3 of your dissertation. In this article, we will discuss the various philosophies and how you can adapt your studies to them. Philosophy comes from the Greek words philin and sophia, meaning lover of wisdom. Simply, it means the study of knowledge, truth, and meaning, and the pursuit of wisdom through concepts or ideologies. It helps to provide the foundational framework for conducting a study, meaning the foundation in which you build your study. Philosophies guide how researchers perceive reality, gather knowledge, and interpret findings. Therefore, choosing the right philosophy ensures alignment between the research objectives and methodology, significantly influencing the approach to the study and its outcomes. Here, we explore 4 key research philosophies: Positivism, Interpretivism, Realism, and Pragmatism, along with their applications, strengths, and limitations. 1. Positivism. Positivism is a research philosophy rooted in the belief that reality is objective, measurable, and independent of human perception. It emphasizes observable phenomena and seeks to uncover universal truths through systematic, empirical investigation. This philosophy draws heavily on the methods of the natural sciences, applying them to the study of social sciences and human behavior. As a researcher, if you believe that authentic knowledge comes from sensory experience, preferably through scientific methods, then you are a positivist. A positivist is a person who adheres to positivism philosophy, a philosophical school that holds that knowledge is objective and can be developed through reason and logic. It is important to understand what you believe in because that will set the foundation for what research you want to embark on. For example, if you do not believe people's medical condition and demand clinical trials, patient observations, and concrete data to support a claim about a medical condition before you believe it, then you think like a positivist. Positivists deal with facts and collect data through quantifiable means, that is, measurable and numerical formats. Positivism philosophy relies on empirical evidence through observations and experiments as the basis of knowledge, and the main goal of a positivist is to identify patterns and predict outcomes. As a researcher who is of this philosophy, these are methods and techniques you can adopt to carry out your study. Firstly, through surveys and questionnaires, to gather quantifiable responses from a large sample. Secondly, through experiments, to test hypotheses in controlled settings. Last but not least, through statistical analysis, to identify trends and correlations in data. For example, a positivist might use a survey to study consumer behavior by analyzing purchasing patterns across a broad demographic. Some of the advantages of this philosophy is that its methods are structured, allowing other researchers to replicate studies. You can replicate a positivist study and arrive at the same result. Its findings are often large, random samples that can be generalized to broader populations, and positivism is used to carry out studies that seek to identify cause and effect relationships, enabling predictions about future behaviors or outcomes. However, there are some limitations to a positivist's philosophy. As discussed in one of our articles, positivism adopts a deductive approach and quantitative research methods. These methods and approaches often ignore the complexity and subjective nature of human experiences and focus on quantifiable data, neglecting qualitative aspects. The strict reliance on empirical evidence can limit flexibility in exploring abstract or emerging concepts. 2. Interpretivism. Interpretivism emphasizes the subjective nature of reality, focusing on understanding human behavior in context. It rejects the notion that social phenomena can be studied using the same methods as natural sciences, arguing that human experiences are influenced by culture, history, and individual perspectives. Interpretivism assumes reality is subjective, socially constructed, and multiple. It's based on the idea that people's experiences shape their reality, and that this reality may differ from others. Interpretivism philosophy is a direct contrast to positivism. By now you should know what subjective and objective means. Objective means something is based on facts and not influenced by personal feelings or opinions, while subjective means something is based on personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. Interpretivism philosophy believes that people judge situations based on their own opinions, not what is objectively true. So positivism is objective, based on facts, free from personal perspectives, uses deductive reasoning, and is oftentimes quantitative in nature, while interpretivism is subjective, based on people's experience, uses inductive reasoning, and oftentimes qualitative. So if you are carrying out a study in which you have to interview people to understand their behavior and experience, then your research is based on the Interpretivism philosophy. Key principles of Interpretivism include subjective reality, emphasizing unique circumstances surrounding behaviors and experiences, and drawing knowledge from interpreting the meanings people attach to their actions and interactions. Methods used to complete Interpretivism studies are mostly interviews, to explore individuals' perspectives and lived experiences. Focus groups, to capture group dynamics and shared meanings. Participant observation, to gain deep insights into behaviors within natural settings. Thematic analysis, to identify recurring themes in qualitative data. For instance, an interpretivist studying workplace culture might conduct in-depth interviews with employees to explore their perceptions of organizational policies. The advantages of Interpretivism philosophy are that it provides deep, nuanced insights into human behavior and social interactions. Methods are often flexible, and captures the complexity and individuality of human experiences. However, its findings may be influenced by researcher bias or participant interpretation. Also, oftentimes you cannot use the result of a specific study to make general conclusions. Remember, we said that positivism studies can be replicated and get the same result, but interpretivism studies can be replicated but have a high possibility of getting a different result because of respondent bias. 3. Realism. Realism bridges the gap between positivism and interpretivism, acknowledging both an objective reality and the subjective nature of human perception. It recognizes that while an independent reality exists, our understanding of it is shaped by our perspectives and social contexts. Realism in philosophy is the idea that objects exist independently of what people think about them. It's the belief that the external world is real and can be accessed through human observation and experience. This philosophy recognizes that even after objectively carrying out a study, there is a need for a subjective understanding of the study. It acknowledged the objective and subjective dimensions that reality exists, and research needs to identify not only facts but underlying mechanisms and causes. Students who have a realism philosophy oftentimes use the abductive approach and a mixed method research design, both qualitative and quantitative methods. Methods adopted in realism are a combination of quantitative and qualitative methods, mixed method, such as case studies, to examine real-world phenomena in depth. Mixed methods, integrating surveys and interviews to capture both measurable trends and contextual insights. Triangulation, using multiple methods or data sources to validate findings. For example, a realist studying healthcare access might analyze statistical trends in patient outcomes alongside interviews with healthcare providers. Another example is studying the impact of sustainability reporting on performance of manufacturing firms, using a positivist approach to get facts. A student can use the sustainability index to find out what was reported and how it affects the performance of firms. It may be expenditure on the environment, it can be sustainability policies of the organization, but in addition, the student will also use an interpretivism approach by conducting interviews targeting the top management levels of these organizations to understand their experiences, how they feel about sustainability for more in-depth understanding. This method is good because it is a comprehensive method that integrates the strengths of both positivist and interpretivism approaches. It suits complex research questions and explores not only what happens but also why and how. However, it is complex, ambiguous, and resource-intensive. 4. Pragmatism. Pragmatism is a practical, outcome-oriented philosophy that focuses on solving problems rather than adhering to rigid theoretical frameworks. Pragmatists prioritize the research objectives and select methods based on their usefulness in addressing the research question, often blending quantitative and qualitative approaches. Pragmatism emphasizes the importance of practical matters in determining the truth or meaning of ideas, rather than theoretical explanations. The pragmatical approach does not focus on any method, it is open to any method, perspective, and interpretation, but the understanding of the outcome of the study must be practicable solutions. Pragmatist researcher often employs mixed methods research, combining surveys, interviews, experiments, and observations as needed. It adapts methods throughout the research process to address emerging findings and involve stakeholders in problem-solving and decision-making processes. For example, a pragmatist studying climate change policy might use statistical models to analyze environmental data and conduct interviews with policymakers to explore challenges in implementation. The main advantage is that it adapts methods to solve research problems, and can combine quantitative with qualitative but geared towards getting a practicable solution to problems. Because a pragmatic approach focuses on practical solutions, it lacks theoretical depth, can be ambiguous, and practical outcomes may overshadow complex, nuanced findings. In conclusion, it is important for a researcher to choose the right philosophy because it shapes every aspect of the research process, from formulating questions to analyzing data. A positivist philosophy is best for studies seeking to test hypotheses, identify patterns, or predict outcomes. Example: examining the relationship between income levels and health outcomes using statistical data. If you opt for interpretivism philosophy, then you are carrying out exploratory research that seeks to understand phenomena in depth. Example: investigating the lived experiences of individuals with chronic illness through interviews. However, the realism philosophy is suitable for complex, multifaceted research questions that require integrating quantitative and qualitative insights. Example: studying the impact of educational reforms by analyzing test scores and teacher interviews. While pragmatism is perfect for problem-solving research with practical applications. Example: developing a community program to reduce food insecurity based on surveys and focus groups. Understanding and selecting an appropriate research philosophy is the cornerstone of a successful study. Thank you for watching.